हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय।
Hare Krishna. Welcome everybody. I need to mute this.
Max volume.
Stop the sound. Okay. I hope I'm audible. Okay.
It's audible.
Should be fine, right? Okay. Okay. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरु वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपा साग्रजा तं सहगना रघुनाथान्स्तवितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णस्य चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखावितांश्च नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। पंचतत्त्वकं कृष्णं भक्तरूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्त शक्तिकम्। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. Welcome everybody to this evening's discussion on the Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are studying reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3. And last week we had looked at verses 6 to 9. So I will try to recap what we discussed first. Let me try to share my screen. Okay, so what we have on the screen is what we discussed last time, and the verses are there. So this is to recap, and so that the continuity is maintained from one week to another, and also we recall and able to recollect and retain. Uh, so we had verse 3.6. This is about restraining the senses. One who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells on the sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. Right? And the example was of Shaubari Muni from Bhagavatam, who fell down from meditation because of mental agitation, because he was underwater and he saw fish mating, and then he came out and he broke his meditation. So it is not possible to forcibly control the senses. That has to be done by a process of devotional service. Right? What is the logic behind this? The logic is that the mind is suppler than the senses, and just controlling it externally that does not help. How do you understand that the mind is very subtle? Because if you control it by force, then it is bound to come out. It is like a snake with closed eyes. A snake with closed eyes is very dangerous. It's still going to bite you. So if you try to forcibly, it's like it's like a snake with closed eyes. That's what we understand from the Shastra. And how do we practically apply it is through the example of devotional service, and natural sense control through devotional service is what the six Goswamis showed us an example for. The second verse is so instead of being a pretender, if you control your senses by engaging them in devotional service, that's far superior. The example that is of Amrish Maharaj, who controlled all his senses by engaging them in devotional service. He engaged all his senses: eyes to see the deity of Krishna, uh, ear to hear the kirtan of Krishna, nose to smell the flowers offered to Krishna, the tongue to taste the shadam offered to Krishna, the legs to walk to the temple, and so on and so forth. All the senses he engaged. So the mind needs positive engagement, and this is better than suppression. And how do you understand that this is a natural state of uh, consciousness? Is that if you naturally withdraw your senses, it's like a tortoise withdrawing its legs and its limbs into itself, and it does it naturally as a part of its own activities. It's not artificial. Like if we try to withdraw our legs inside, that would not be natural, but it's natural to the tortoise. It's the same way we have to naturally withdraw our senses from the sense objects, right? And the six Goswamis were again a good example, and like the best example, the excellent example, where they completely withdrew the senses. They were active in the devotional service throughout their career of devotional service, right? So, and they were completely detached, and they would not even live under the same tree the same day, because to avoid all kinds of detachment. So you have to follow in their footsteps. We cannot imitate them. Uh, 3.8 is so we have to perform our duties, because if we don't perform our duties, then we'll be lost, because even survival is not possible without performing our duties, right? So what this means is that we need to work. Otherwise, we'll be helplessly controlled by material nature and will be completely driven by wrong forces if we are lazy. So the idea is that we do our work, our prescribed duties, and you know that is offered as Krishna consciousness. Basically, the result of that can be Krishna conscious. That can be directly Krishna conscious. But the idea is that you do that with a vigor and force. And the idea is not to be lazy. We have to do our prescribed duties, and we have to be Krishna conscious at the same time. So, example of that is King Janak, who achieved liberation while performing his all duties. Right? Uh, we understand that the bee collects honey, but it does it without any exploitation. It goes from flower to flower, it collects the honey, it collects the nectar, and makes into honey. So we have to be, but work we do has to be not harm anybody or anything. So we have to collect and do our duties in that way. So Krishna also, see the example of Arjuna, who performed his duties as a service to Krishna. and he was successful in his life. That was the 8th verse. The 9th verse is that the work done as a sacrifice to Vishnu must be performed. Otherwise, work binds us to this material world. So if we engage in karma, just working as a fruitive worker, that kind of work will bind us to the material world. Will lead to bondage. We'll be completely under the modes of nature. So any work we do, we has to as a sacrifice to Vishnu, Lord Vishnu. And that is the verse today, 3.10. But leading up to that, Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj is an example of somebody who took to devotional service with the intention of material gain. Because out of material frustration, he left his palace because he was scolded by his stepmother and not allowed to sit on his father's lap. So he said, I'll gain a kingdom greater than my father, and he left in that way. But even because he was guided by Narad Muni and given the mantra of Vishnu, he achieved perfection by gaining the darshan and the benediction of Krishna, and he forgot about his material goals. So as we see, any work we do can be transformed into perfect devotional service as long as it is done with the proper right mood and attitude. Of course, we have to not perform vikarma. Vikarma is basically sinful activities. So vikarma is sinful activities, which is around following the regulative principles, which is no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. These are very gross sinful activities which are not to be done. And any karma we do, any karma yoga we do, any devotional service has to be in line with our basic nature, our varnashram duties, and also not be harmful to anybody around us. And the result we get from that can be offered to Krishna, and that itself can become devotional service. That we'll see later how that becomes and how to do it. So, but the question then comes that if we are doing all the work in the material world, because we are supposed to act to maintain ourselves, we have to maintain ourselves and our devotional service also. So that becomes part of our devotional service. How are then we not going to be affected by all these activities around us? Like what we do, for example, if somebody goes to work and that place is not a Krishna conscious activity directly, then won't he be affected by the modes of material nature coming to that person from there? So we have to be not affected because we have to work like a lotus leaf, where when the water touches it, it does not get wet. So lotus leaf does not get wet even when the water touches it. So that's how we understand how we have to work, right? So who was an example? Pandavas ruling the kingdom with devotional consciousness. They were completely Krishna conscious and they ruled the kingdom wisely and well, and all the subjects were prosperous and happy. So this is how we understand from 3.6 to 3.9. Right? Any questions about this before we proceed? All right. Let me. Circle chart. Okay. Which chart? This chart. You want to see this chart? This one. Okay. This is just an idea to how to understand this as a concept. The organization and the goal of what we're trying to do right now is to study Bhagavad Gita to apply in our lives. The context is the Bhagavad Gita is divided into 6 chapters each, so 18. And the first 6 are about Karma Yoga, which is what we are going to study now. We understand that the senses are very much controlled by the sense objects, and the mind gets attached to the senses. In this way,
but intelligence gets lost. And when intelligence gets lost, which means our intelligence is completely controlled by the mind, then we are completely driven by the force of material nature. So the material nature, this environment is first versus the physical IQ, the physical body, the physical quotient, then the emotional quotient, the intelligence quotient, and the spiritual quotient. So physical quotient is by the body, the emotional quotient is by the mind, the intelligence quotient is by the intelligence, and the social quotient is by the soul. So ultimately, we need to come under the control of the soul surrendered to Krishna or Paramatma. And once we are able to do that, then we rise of intelligence to act in the right way. So that is the goal. Now, the Bhagavad Gita, the Karma Yoga will give you the ability to, now we are being controlled by the mind, as you can see the circle, the beginning, the middle. Now we need to turn the circles in this way, clockwise, so that now we are controlled by the intelligence, which is on the right. Once we are controlled by the intelligence, that means that we can achieve Karma Yoga or devotional service, because now we can proceed the path of devotional service. We can also be successful in anything, any endeavor we do, but if we are completely controlled by the mind, then we cannot achieve anything at all. Now going ahead, now once we read Bhagavad Gita 7 to 12th chapter, that is on Bhakti Yoga, we turn the clock again and then we are controlled by the soul. So the soul controls us. The Krishna controls, Baba controls the soul. Yeah. So basically, each of the things in the pyramid is also in the circle. Right. Soul right now is at the bottom, and the mind is controlling the intelligence of the body. Soul is at the bottom. So it's a whole situation. I try to say, slideshow. Okay. Oh, you use it. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Okay. So this is the situation of the left is what we have now. Mind, ruling over intelligence and the body, and the soul is at the bottom. So we are completely controlled by the material nature, mind, which means look as the mind controlled by the senses, the sense objects, senses acting on the sense objects, mind controlled completely by the senses. That means whatever comes, whatever you see, you may be attracted, disgusted, delighted, and driven. And that means everybody is acting in this way. 99% of people are acting at this level. And you see total chaos. I don't have the right answer.
Intelligence, mind and intelligence are different.
The mind and intelligence are different things. Mind is our reasoning. It goes, it's like Buddhi Yoga, which Krishna is saying as a follow, or Karma Yoga, which means you need to have a steady mind, means you need to be steady in your intelligence and you control your mind. That mind is driven completely by the sense objects. Mind is a subtle entity. It's subtler than the intelligence. Than the gross intelligence. There is a subtle mind, there is a gross mind. There is a gross intelligence, there is a subtle intelligence. But just understand this. We won't go into all the technicalities of it. But understand this: the intelligence. Intelligence is the reasoning, the ability to act analytically and coherently. As per the Shastra, as per Krishna is saying, that is intelligence. Right? What is intelligence? It's not acting as per some whims and fancies. That this is good for me, and I do it. Somebody may be very intelligent in terms of the body, and they do very good in some activities. But what purpose is that for? Why are you doing that activity? Unless you form that intelligence is what you're trying to develop. Otherwise, the purification of the heart, that will lead us to the right intelligence. Till that point, it is completely driven by the senses. And senses are focused on the sense objects. eating, waging, sleeping, and defending. Right, and that will go on. So everybody thinks that once you are able to do all these four activities, then you are successful. But that's not the case, because even if you do those activities successfully, actually those activities are done by all the animals and plants also successfully, but they won't get over in their life. I mean, basically they're not up there. Of course, they are progressing in terms of evolution, spiritual evolution. Each animal will take its next birth to the next higher level. So it's evolving, but in terms of its present life, it cannot control anything. It's completely driven by the material nature, right? And we are not in a better situation if we are attacked like that. Surely this needs to be remedied, and the Bhagavad Gita gives us the intelligence how to develop this intelligence systematically. That's how it is. Physical quotient. EQ is intellectual quotient, IQ is intelligence quotient, SQ is spiritual quotient, EQ is emotional quotient, physical quotient, senses, sense objects, senses and body. Any things that clear? Good enough?
Yes, 1.2. Like, in Hindi, like, I saw Prabhupada sometimes referring mind as man and buddhi. Like, so man is like, I want to do something. Like, no. That's my thing is like, let's say man. Like, मेरा मन कर रहा है कि मैं मीठा खाऊं. But then with intelligence, I have to control the.
Mind is an entity which is focused on sense objects and is completely controlled by it. And you need to control that mind so that you don't let it control the sense objects. Because now the mind will control the body. You have to control the body, you have to control the mind by your intelligence. And then let your soul control your intelligence. What does it mean? The soul controlling your intelligence. The soul controlling the intelligence means doing bhakti yoga. That means now whatever intelligence you have is directed towards Krishna consciousness. That now becomes soul control. Again, this will rotate further, which are not shown. So now the soul will be upon. So that now by the time you have understood and applied Bhagavad Gita chapter, it is chapter 12, this can be achieved. And the next 6 chapters are so that you don't get it rotated again. Please study there because that's really very beautiful. That's what I'm trying to show here in this chart. Okay. Any more questions about this? It's simple to understand, I think, but it is important to have a concept.
Physical quotient is on down. Intelligence is controlling now mind and soul test. This is a better situation than the previous one. But still, it is not the ideal situation. So now intelligence
You try to control the soul. That means you are not trying to say that Krishna, you can still be successful in your material endeavors in this situation. But you can also not be Krishna conscious because you are not accepting Krishna consciousness.
that is those who are not in medical, but people are some people are successful. But they know how to control their emotions.
Yes.
It's mind.
Mind, yes.
Mind is the biggest hindrance in any success.
Yes, mind. Yeah. Like emotionally. You have to use your emotions for your well-being, but you are not to be controlled by that. There is a lot of talk about emotional intelligence. About using your emotions effectively, not to be controlled by them. A lot of psychology about emotional intelligence.
Still, the third scenario will still go down. That intelligence will act according to
Soul's platform. Intelligence will act on the soul.
knowledge of the soul, what the position
Of
of
the soul, yes.
we are soul, we are not this body.
Yes.
Now intelligence is now purified in that sense. So now that intelligence will guide the mind. The mind is the one friend.
Yeah.
And it is our sensitive service.
Correct. Yes. So now soul will go around, intelligence will act according to the soul, control the mind and the body. And then everything will act according to the intelligence, supreme intelligence. Will become an instrument of the Lord rather than being driven by the material nature. Because you see, the force of material nature will completely drive us, control our senses, and everything is haywire in that situation. Okay. So with that discussion, let's move on to Bhagavad Gita 3.10 and delete the verse. Projected also. What was projected? Okay. I can read from here. Okay, so I will read it and then I will invite others to recite it also. And we will read it word by word. Sayagna praja shrishma Guru vacha prajapati Anena prasavisya Anena prasavisya Esho Isha Istakhamadu
Sayatna praja sristva
Sayagna praja shrishma
Vacha prajapati
Vacha prajapati
Anena prasavisya Pramesha Tisa Bhuvasva Ishta Kama Dhyavan
Isha Istakhamadu Anybody? Shrishma Prajapati
Anena Prasavisya
Anybody else?
Samayatna praja shrishma
Sayagna praja shrishma
Vacha prajapati
Vacha prajapati
Nina prasavishvam
Anena Prasavisya
Esha ishtakamadu
Isha Usva Ishtakhamadu
Saha, along with Yagnaha, sacrifices, Rajaha, generations, Srishtva, creating, Pura, anciently, Uvacha, said, Prajapatihi, the Lord of creatures, Anina, by this, Prasa, Prasavishadvam, Prasavishwadvam, be more and more prosperous. Isha, this, Vah, Vah, your, Astu, let it be, Ishta, of all desirable things, Kamadhuk, bestowed. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods along with sacrifices for Vishnu and blessed them by saying, Be thou happy by this yagna, sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. I'll read this again. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this yagna, sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. Purport. The material creation by the Lord of creatures, Vishnu, is a chance offered to the conditioned souls to come back home, back to Godhead. All living entities within the material creation are conditioned by material nature because of their forgetfulness of their relationship to Vishnu or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vedic principles are to help us understand this eternal relation, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Vedascha sarver aham eva vedya. The Lord says that the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Him. In the Vedic hymns, it is said, Patim Vishwasyatma Ishwaram. Therefore, the Lord of the living entities is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vishnu. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, also, 420, Srila Sukdev Goswami describes the Lord as Pati in so many ways. Shriya Patir Yagnapatir Prajapatir Diyam Patir Lokapatir Dharapati Patir Gatis Chandhaka Vrishni Shat Vatam Prasidatam Me Bhagavan Satam Pati. The Prajapati is Lord Vishnu, and he is the Lord of all living creatures, all worlds and all beauties, and the protector of everyone. The Lord created this world to enable the conditioned souls to learn how to perform yagnas, sacrifices, for the satisfaction of Vishnu. So while in the material world, they can live very comfortably without anxiety. And after finishing the present material body, they can enter into the kingdom of God. That is the whole program for the conditioned soul. By performance of yagna, the conditioned souls gradually become Krishna conscious and become godly in all respects. In the age of Kali, the Sankirtan Yagna, the chanting of the names of God, is recommended by the Vedic scriptures. And this transcendental system was introduced by Lord Chaitanya for the deliverance of all men in this age. Sankirtan Yagna and Krishna consciousness go well together. Lord Krishna, in his devotional form as Lord Chaitanya, is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. 11th canto, 5th chapter, text 32, as follows, with special reference to the Sankirtan Yagna. Krishna Varanam Tvish Krishnam Sango Pangasra Parshadam Yagnai Sankirtana Prayer Yajanta Hi Sumedasa Krishna Varanam Tvish Krishnam Sangopanga Asra Parshadam Yagnai Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti Hi Sumedasa. In the age of Kali, people who are endowed with sufficient intelligence will worship the Lord, who is accompanied by his associates by performance of Sankirtan Yagna. Other yagnas prescribed in the Vedic literature are not easy to perform in this age of Kali. But the Sankirtan Yagna is easy and sublime for all purposes, as recommended in Bhagavad Gita also. Chapter 9, text 14. Okay. So I'll read the translation again. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this yagna, sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation. Okay, so this takes us back in time. It's at the very beginning of the creation of this material cosmos. Before that, all these men and demigods, where were they located? With the Lord. Yes, in a sense, they were with the Lord, but where? Inside the body of the Lord, but were they active or inert? Inactive, right? Yeah. So, so there is the material cycle has a huge time span, and Krishna is trying to liberate all of us. He's coming here personally to liberate all of us. But we, being so obstinate, are not really listening. And he has granted us free will, so he does not interfere in our free will. But he is very loving and he is trying his best to liberate us. But those who are not liberated till the end of the material manifestation, they will become in an inert form and enter into the body of Krishna. And when he recreates again, he'll populate them again to the material manifestation. That's why we are going back in time. And now Krishna has created again the material manifestation, and he has sent for generations of men and demigods, along with sacrifices for Vishnu. So, and he has sent them, he has blessed them also, he's saying that be happy and also do this sacrifice, this yagna. And then you will be bestowed with everything you need to survive in the material world, anything desirable for living, and also for getting liberation. That means it does not want us to stay here forever. This is what this verse is talking about. Now, now let's try to understand what does the meaning of men and demigods. Now, if you look at any government office, there are so many departments. There are so many ministries. So, take the example of the Indian Constitution, the Indian form of government. The president is not active in day-to-day affairs, but the prime minister is the active in day-to-day affairs. And there are so many ministries under the prime minister, and under each ministry there are so many departments, right? So we can understand that Krishna has delegated the functioning of so much part of this material manifestation to different entities who are qualified for that. So basically, these devatas, they have enough piety and intelligence to take on that role, but they are actually jivas. So they are taking the role of those administrators. So how do we deal with the devatas, and what is the position of devatas and Krishna is very clear, right? But when we are doing the sacrifice, each department or each functioning is from each devata. As we understand, how do you understand this? Let's try to understand this with the help of some stories. The devatas, the functioning of the devatas. Now, say if you see children when they are young, they used to get smallpox. It was a very prevalent disease, right? Now, they used to say, even when I got chicken pox, not smallpox, but when I got chicken pox, my grandmother told me, Mata aa gayi hai. What does this mean? And what is this reason? Is it a superstition or there is some rationale behind this thinking? Actually, what used to happen was these diseases were prevalent. Yes. But there were a particular class of devatas who used to save the people who needed to be saved. And that's why these devata, this mata used to come. It's not that the mata is causing the disease. The mata is actually saving us from the disease, right? And there is a particular devotee who has actually experienced this. I'll not take his name, but in his childhood, he has narrated the story, and Sadaputta Prabhu he narrates the story in his book. I forget the name of the book, but the story is in his book, and the story is narrated to him. The Sadaputta Prabhu, who is our Richard Thompson, one of our scientists in ISKCON, he narrates the story that about the story of the smallpox lady. So the smallpox lady used to come every time there was an epidemic, and this boy, who later on became a ISKCON devotee, he used to be able to converse with this Mata. She is a Devi, and she's extremely beautiful, effulgent, and she used to use the human staircases and no doorways as a matter of etiquette. But she is from a higher dimension. She can just pass through the walls or float across, and that is what she was doing. And he was able to communicate with her, but he could see that even though when he talks, she's responding. He's able to talk to her, but her lips are actually not moving. She doesn't need the power, she doesn't need to move her lips or make sounds to communicate with him. But he is able to talk to her, and he spoke to her many times. And he told her once that I have come now. Your neighbor's child will be taken, but you will not be taken. Smallpox lady. So this is the story of the smallpox lady. And so we understand that each function of the devatas is very much there. We don't know, and we are foolish in thinking that the devatas are not there. The devatas are very much there, and they are there for certain functions. We need to be very respectful and mindful of them. The water, air, rain, it's all controlled. The material nature is controlled by the agents of the Supreme Lord. And we have to be mindful of that, right? And there are two more stories here from the same person. Once this boy went and fasted for 3 days in the temple of Shiva, where there was also a deity of Kartikeya. And he was chanting the mantra of Kartikeya for 3 days without food, without water. He somehow did that because he was from a pious Brahmin family in his childhood. They taught him some things and he did it. And after 3 days, he could see in the sky the weapon of Kartikeya present there in the sky. He could see. So we can understand, that this is not mithya. Shivji is very much there. Kartikeya is there. They are devatas. Right? Not only that, the water is controlled by the Devi of that water. Ganga Mata is a Devi who's there in the water in a personal form. In the water, in the Ganges. Each river is a personification, is a manifestation of a Devi, and that Devi form is also there. So once one boy was drowning in Mayapur, in the Ganges, and he should have drowned but he saw that some Devi was holding him up. And later he realized that this is actually Mother Ganges who was not letting him drown because she's saving him actually. So there are so many wonderful things which show us that the devatas are very much present, in the material manifestation. And therefore performing a certain function. Now, these sacrifices which are mentioned here, some of the sacrifices are for the devatas because it's a reciprocation. You offer and you get back. But ultimately, everything is offered to Krishna because he is the supreme. He is the Lord of the sacrifices, right? It says here, who is the Lord of the sacrifices? It's Vishnu. So ultimately, all sacrifices are for Vishnu. Okay, so, but now if you get much diverted here, what if you just keep offering sacrifices, get the material benedictions from the devatas, and then you live happily? But that's not what is being talked about here. You have to aim to get out of the material manifestation. This was created again to help you to get out because last time we lost it. We all lost it. We didn't get out, right? Now he has created it again to help us to get out, right? Otherwise, you'll be just in inert state. Now we must take the chance and get out. If we just try to be here because we have to survive here, he can't just give us nothing. So he gave us this way, right? He gave us a material manifestation, the devtas are there, it's all administered. Okay, all the system is there. But if you misuse it, then you'll be here and the creation will end, will still be inert, and then again he may create it again. But basically you have lost it for eons of time. This time is by a human lifespan is completely huge. And for Krishna, there's nothing. Nothing. This material manifestation, they say, is the dream of Krishna. It's real because it's Krishna. It's from Krishna. But it's temporary. Right. Okay. Any questions? So, in this age, so this verse is talking about the Satyuga, when they were at the age of performing opulent fire sacrifices. But the verse is not talking about fire sacrifices. It's just that time there were fire sacrifices, and every age has a different sacrifice, has a different way of sacrifice, right? So in this age, it says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is one of the very few references to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu which you can find in the Srimad Bhagavatam, because he is the Channa avatar, or hidden. So he's Krishna Varanam, means he is of Krishna Varanam. Means basically he is hidden. He is accompanied by his weapons and his accomplices, associates, and he teaches us Sankirtan. That's what the verse says. He's hidden. He's not. It says Akrishnam. Akrishnam means not black, right? And this worship is for him who has. It's possible to understand him for those who have sufficient intelligence. Sumedasa means fine intelligence. Sumedasa, very fine intelligence is required to understand this. Why is fine intelligence required? And why is it fine? Because you see, devotional service is rare. It is not easily achieved. And pure devotional service is even rare, more rare. And Krishna, in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is giving pure devotional service very easily. So, unless your intelligence is fine, you will not be able to understand it. And how do you develop the fine intelligence? Is what we spoke about earlier. Right? So, you can develop the fine intelligence by developing your Krishna consciousness. And then you will understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his pastimes. Right? So this verse is really path-breaking and dramatic from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, now with that discussion, I'll go back to my presentation. Go back. How do I go back? Confusion. Some confusion here. Can't find that thread. Sorry. Let's go one by one. So the system is created by the God, by the Lord, for gradual elevation. And this leads to cooperation between humans and demigods. And sacrifice is the means of as a means of satisfaction. What is this sacrifice? What are you sacrificing? So if you don't do anything with the, yes, you sacrifice sense gratification. Yes. You sacrifice sense gratification and you do everything as a tapasya to please for pleasing the Lord. But why is this a sacrifice? Because you have sacrificed your anarthas. You have sacrificed the gross within you. Right? But there is a reciprocation here. Because when you sacrifice, it's there's a cooperation. Like otherwise it's stealing. Right? If you take from material nature without the right sacrifice, then it's stealing. Then the entire affairs of the material nature will become disturbed. Because right now man is disturbing the material nature and we are stealing from material nature. We are forcing material nature to give more than it can. And that is leading to the balance and harmony being lost. But if you do it as a sacrifice, that means you're not doing it for sense gratification. That means you will take what you need, but not for there's enough for man's need, but not for his greed. Right? And our greed has become too much. Too much. We are trying to create something here, like man wants to live permanently in the same body for very long with all the material comforts. And that is what they're trying to do. And that leads to enormous, you can be successful because the law of karma, if you do something, you'll be successful to some extent. Right? But what will that lead to do? Because you're now stealing from material nature, that lead to disharmony and complete disruption of the material nature. Now, what is happening? You see global warming, rivers running dry, rains patterns being different, ice age, the ice melting from the Himalayas. So all the ice, Antarctica is also losing ice. The Himalayas are losing ice. All the mountains are losing ice. That means all the water used to come from routed by the mountains and the rain. The whole cycle has a cycle. It's going to be disrupted. It is disrupted. That means we're heading for chaos. We're heading for extreme chaos for sure. We can stop it. We can slow it down. But right now it is headed in a very wrong direction. So personally, how do we do this? So it's about the actions we do is for ourselves, for society, and for say for our own body, for our family, and for the entire society. So the Sankirtan Yagna is going to benefit all levels of society, right? So if everybody becomes Krishna conscious, if you are able to spread it to a lot of people, and they become Krishna conscious, then of course this harmony will go away. Because that's what Krishna is saying. Because otherwise, it will be, it is, and will accelerate this process. So what is going to happen is also predicted. At least for 10,000 years. Is it 10,000 or 100,000? Huh? 10,000 years. At least for 10,000 years, the holy name can be made more available, and a lot of people can benefit from that. After that, the spread of Kali Yuga may increase further, and then may lead to total degradation. Right? So we have to think personally what you can do about that.
Okay.
Any questions, or we can move on to the next verse, or we are done? I don't know. How are we doing on time? Okay. 15 minutes? 15 minutes, I can, okay, I can. So 610. old one, this one. Okay. So we are still on the same verse. So what are the striking points from this verse? So the sacrifice or yagna is a divine principle embedded into the act of creation. Right? Progress and fulfillment of human desires depend on yagna, which emphasizes selflessness and gratitude. Human prosperity is intertwined with a harmonious relationship with universal principles. This was from Srila Prabhupada's purport. These are the striking points. These are the things we need to take home with us, right? And this verse is also collaborated by other verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which states, by executing, the verses 1 to 13, by executing one's prescribed duties for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, everyone advances in life, but neglecting such duties leads to chaos. By executing one's prescribed duties for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, everyone advances in life, but neglecting such duties leads to chaos. So in today's world, who is doing the prescribed duties? So if somebody is, say, going for a job or doing a business, is he doing his prescribed duties? No, because you're not doing the Sankirtan, the Yagna, you're not doing a sacrifice and you're not developing the relation only that way. So that means it is disharmony. You may do karma, you may achieve something. You may be able to live till the end of your body, or it may not be able to happen because there's complete disharmony, so that even the existence may not be harmonious. But still, that is not yagna. If you don't do it in the proper way, your duties, then you're not living with harmony. Harmony means you have to do your work judiciously with universal principles of harmony. You have to think carefully what you have to do. Right? And a metaphor from Shastra is sacrifice is compared to a seed from which prosperity grows, prosperity of fruits grow. So, if we do sacrifice, yagna, then our prosperity in terms of our relationship with the Supreme and our existence in the material world to be conducive to that will fructify. Right? How do we do that? There's some practical applications. Show gratitude for resources provided by nature through offerings. Treat all work as an act of sacrifice by dedicating it to the Supreme. Practice selflessness in daily activities. This is just a mental attitude of doing the Sankirtan, that we have to be very grateful. Okay. So should we go on to the next verse or we do that? Okay, so Krishna now follows on. So let's read the verse. Devan bhavyat bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu va parasparam bhavyantah Shreya param avapsyatha.
Deva bhavya tatente देवान् भाव्या तातेन्ते
देवा भाव्यातानेन
देवा भाव्यान्तु वः
देवा भाव्यन्तु वः
परस्परं भाव्यान्तः
परस्परं भाव्यान्तः
श्रेय परं वास्यथ
श्रेय परम् अवाप्स्यत
Devan, demigods. Bhavyayata. Bhavayata. Being pleased. Anena. By this sacrifice. Te. Those. Deva. Demigods. Bhavyayantu. Bhavayayantu. Bhavayantu. Will please. You. Parasparam. Mutually. Bhavayantaha. Pleasing one another. Shreya. Benediction. Param. The Supreme. Avapyas. Avapsatha. Avapsatha. You will achieve. The demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you, and thus by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. The demigods are empowered administrators. The demigods are empowered administrators of material affairs. The supply of air, light, water, and all other benedictions for maintaining the body and soul of every living entity is entrusted to the demigods, who are innumerable assistants in different parts of the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their pleasures and displeasures are dependent on the performance of yagnas by the human being. Their pleasures and displeasures are dependent on the performance of yagnas by the human being. Some of the yagnas are meant to satisfy particular demigods, but even in so doing, Lord Vishnu is worshipped in all yagnas as the chief beneficiary. It is stated also in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna himself is the beneficiary of all kinds of yagnas. Bhoktaram yagatapasam. Therefore, ultimate satisfaction of the Yagnapati is the chief purpose of all yagnas. When these yagnas are perfectly performed, naturally the demigods in charge of the different departments of supply are pleased, and there is no scarcity in the supply of natural products. Performance of yagnas has many side benefits, ultimately leading to liberation from material bondage. By performance of yagnas, all activities become purified, as it is stated in the Vedas. Ahara shuddhau sattva shuddhi sattva shuddhau dhruva smiti lambe sarva granthinam vipramokshaha. By performance of yagna, one's eatables become sanctified, and by eating sanctified foodstuffs, one's very existence become purified. By the purification of existence, finer tissues in the memory become sanctified, and when memory is sanctified, one can think of the path of liberation. And all these combined together lead to Krishna consciousness, the great necessity of present day society. I'll read the translation again. The demigods being pleased by sacrifices will also please you, and thus by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. Okay, so Krishna is saying that the devatas will give you prosperity as a reciprocation. But ultimately, when you do a sacrifice, it's ultimately for Krishna, because Krishna is the Lord of all sacrifices. Because he is the chief administrator or the chief, and the devatas are administrators for various functions. Right? So, but by yagnas you will become purified. And one of the yagnas is in the verse stated is the sacrifice of food. Ahar shuddho, ahar, food. Every day we have to offer what we want to. Basically, um, the idea is that we have to have only prasadam, food that is sanctified for offering to Krishna. That is also a sacrifice. How is that a sacrifice? Because food may be polluted. We have to make it as clean as possible. We have to use the best ingredients possible and do it in the best possible way with our ability. But because it's all coming from the material nature, from various places, it's it still needs to be purified, right? It's like when we drink water, what will happen? We purify it, don't we? We purify the water, then drink it. Why? Because we think it's impure, now it's pure, then you can drink it. Similarly, the food, once it was prepared, even though it was the best intentions, it's already pure when you prepare it with the best intentions. But still, you need to offer it to Krishna so that it's actually purified and become prasadam. And then it is purified. Then, then it is fit for giving nourishment. But other, if you don't offer it, then it is contaminated with the material energy. It leads to sense gratification, sin, and karma. So this verse here is talking about ahara shuddho, which means that you're talking about food and all activities. So if you are, say, example, a food ahar is pure, then you'll develop intelligence in such a way that you will become sanctified and you will become purified and you will start to understand that you'll understand the path of liberation. So it's talking about when the existence becomes purified, the fine tissues in the memory become sanctified. And when the memory is sanctified, we can think of the path of liberation. And all these combined together lead to Krishna consciousness. So this verse from the Shastra is talking about this, that if you have prasadam, then your memory and intelligence, fine intelligence will develop in such a way that you will be able to understand the Shastra. Otherwise, if you have contaminated food, then you will not be able to understand the Shastra. That's why Srila Prabhupada, in his infinite wisdom, each feast, each Sunday feast class, each Sunday feast program like we are having now, there is the facility for prasadam. And that is because prasadam will help us. It is a clock. It's to break out the chicken egg situation. Now you're contaminated. You will not understand the Shastra. So you give prasadam. Just prasadam, you start to understand the Shastra. Once you understand the Shastra, you will have prasadam again on your own. And then you start to understand the Shastra again. And once you understand the Shastra, then you will be situated in Krishna consciousness. So that's what this is talking about. Okay. So I'll go to the presentation now I have about this. Okay. So this is the same verse. So what are the striking points? Other striking points from this verse? Using resources without acknowledging the divine source is akin to theft. Offering back to the devtas or demigods ensures an ethical and sustainable life. Gratitude connects humanity with cosmic harmony. So we have to live a life of gratitude in harmony. And we have to acknowledge that the source, which is Krishna, not doing that will be like stealing or exactly stealing. We have Bali Maharaj, the example of Bali Maharaj from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And because when Krishna came to punish him and asked him for 3 steps of land and there was no other place, he offered his head. And before offering his head, he has offered all his possessions and he offered his whole body to Krishna. So this is Atma Nivedana, principle of devotional service. That ultimately everything belongs to Lord, the Supreme Lord. Everybody is busy in the material affairs, trying to gain facilities for ourselves. But we have to understand these facilities have to be used only for Sankirtan or for Krishna consciousness. And if the moment we try to use them for our own sense gratification, that will only lead to our downfall. It's okay to have a house. It is okay to have grand land. All of these things will be used in the service of Krishna, and that is fine. And everything belongs to Krishna or not to us. We are all just custodians. We need to be understand that we have to be very grateful. If we are not grateful for what we have, then we are just like a thief or a guest at a banquet. There's a like a huge party in town. Like there's a huge party in town, and I'm not invited. So I just sneak in and don't talk to the organizer. Have something over there, food, and just sneak out. Would not, it is not theft, right? Rather than that, what I'm going to do is I will go, if I'm invited, I will go there and speak to the organizer and give him my benediction and give him my blessings. And in return, he will offer me whatever is to be offered. So that would be good. But we are acting like thieves, right? So the practical application is discussed to offer food as prashadam before eating it to purify it spiritually, and share wealth and resources with those who in need as a gesture of gratitude, and avoid a sense of entitlement towards nature. So they share wealth and resources. So you may understand, you may think why share wealth. I am giving it to temple. So that yeah, so give wealth to temple. Yes, that's a principle of devotional service because now you are taking care of the deity. The temple needs maintenance. That's true. But of course, with those in need also, that's a principle from Bhakti Siddhanta Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Srila Prabhupada. He said to even poor people, if you give some amount of money, not money, some money, means don't be hard. Otherwise, your heart will become very hard because in the but material manifestation, a lot of people are suffering. So to make the heart soft, so we can those who can, they can share their wealth. But we have to understand that we are not entitled to anything here. It's a sense of gratitude. It's about service. It's about reciprocation. We have to remember all these things. Okay. Are we done with time? How much time we have? Done? So let's have a discussion. Let's have a discussion now. Let's open it up to say any thoughts or questions.
How we consume it. I just want to add to it.
Yeah. So this material world is so designed. It's designed on based of exploitation. Like if you see the food chain starting from, so one survival is uh, diminishing the other entity, other species. The food chain also works like this. So when that food, we may think we are, it's our hard-earned money. We have not stolen that money. We have earned that money, and by that it's our rightful. Like with honesty, we have got that food to our home. So if we don't offer it to Krishna, it's fine. Because actually I'm quite honest, I'm acting morally. But still, because that food, say for example, the land is there, and that land for the cultivation, there might be some forest earlier, and that forest would be the home of many species of lives, and this is a something. So now when you took that land from them, so they are being oppressed. So that sin is not there in that. It's a chain of sin. Now in that chain, just the point when that food reached to your home on your table, many people are involved. Many species of lives are involved, and so there is no guarantee that everybody was happy with that process, and so many people were suffering because of that. Not just humans, maybe birds, bees, animals, insects. Even when you are plowing the field, there are many microbes are there in the
That's
soil.
right. Yes.
So they are also get destroyed. And when some pest is there on the leaf of a plant, so that pest it's a rightful right, because Krishna has made that leaf as his food. It's food. But now this is our need. We don't want that pest to eat that leaf or fruit. So we are spraying, whether we are spraying organic fertilizers, but in that process, that insect is being harmed. So now the sin is there. So in itself, and those grains are there, so there is a soul in that, because that grains can be sown and whole again a plant or a grass or a tree can be cultivated. So now we are taking that chance when we are consuming that, so that soul is not going to take that body, that seed you are consuming. So it is always sinful, but when we offer it to Krishna, Krishna just takes all the sins out of it, because any Krishna is so pure that anything comes in contact with Krishna becomes purified. So then that's the sanctified food, because there is no other way to be still less until unless we connect. Food is one example. Anything we
Food is
connect.
one of the sacrifices.
Yeah.
Yes. There are so many sacrifices
Yeah.
to do. So today we discussed food, the sacrifice of food, prashadam, eating only prashadam, and sankirtan as one of the, as the two things to yagyas from these verses. Good. Thank you, Mother. Anybody else? Any questions to discuss?
I have a small question, Prabhu, but very basic. I read it at multiple places, but want to have your perspective and anyone's, I mean, if you would like to comment. What is the meaning of sacrifice? Like, if it in simple terms you have to explain to a layman, like, this is sacrifice, okay, as per Shastric injunctions. What would that be, Prabhu? In day-to-day activities and whatever we do, how we do. Yeah. In day-to-day activities, or let's say whatever we are doing in our through course of journey, what should be like, how should we look at sacrifice? Like, okay, if I'm doing this, okay, this is sacrifice. Or let's say if I'm doing something. So for instance, let's say if I'm listening to music, or let's say I go for a movie, I know that it's not a sacrifice. It's like I'm doing something for my sense enjoyment. So, like, if I have to explain I mean, this is very simple. Of course, we understand the difference, but of course, there could be something which are finer. So, sometimes, let's say, having a prashadam itself, like having the desire to have something good. So, for instance, let's say at the beginning of the class, I brought maja, like because I was feeling thirsty, and I thought that let's quench my thirst. But then I thought, because I want to quench my thirst, I bought maja. Of course, I offered it to the Lord, in mind. But then the trigger point was that I wanted to quench my thirst, and then of course offered it to devotees. But then, in the process, I offered second to Lord. Not it was like my first go-to thing, right? So what are the how do we identify that fine things in day-to-day activities? So if you could explain, or anyone.
Yajna, sacrifice, Krishna defines like this one. Yajnatat karmanon anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. You do not do anything as a part of sacrifice. Yajnatat karmanon anyatra means if you don't do like that, then you get bound. Now, how does it happen? It means you are saying, you're saying you earn something, you earn something. We actually don't earn anything. It is given to us. Things happen by the will of the Lord. It's not something, So everything belongs to Him. Isha vasam dam sarvam. From that, He gives to each of us certain things, Somebody is very rich, somebody is poor, somebody is there. According to the karma, the Lord is giving us. But what we receive from Him, we should have gratitude. You give me something, I should have gratitude for what I received from them. So from that, I have to give something. That is called sacrifice. If you give me 100 rupees and I keep all the 100 rupees with me, it's not that I have earned that. So you are out of your very good at this thing, Caster, you have given me something. I should sacrifice this. Prabhupada says stagnant water. No, if you take something and keep it with itself, it stagnates. Stagnant water, becomes bad, polluted sometimes. Should be like a flowing river. You get something, you give something. You get something, give something. You can keep sufficient for yourself. Not hold all the things for yourself. Then it becomes like a flowing river. You take something, give something. So this is yajna. And this, you can do it. Finally, like he said, it should be given to Krishna only. But then again, the Lord gives us slow development. There is vikarma, karma, and akarma. The whole, this first 6 chapter takes us through these 3 processes. First persons do vikarma. Like, child born, they doesn't know, like we are also ignorant, we don't know what to do. So we keep doing vikarma. And then slowly we understand, and then we start doing karma. And from karma, we should go to akarma. What's the difference? Vikarma gives bad reactions to us. Karma doesn't give bad reaction, but it doesn't give so much good reaction also. Means you stay almost at the same level, Like in mathematics, x-axis, one is below x-axis is bad thing. X-axis, you stay neutral like that, And above that, you go into the positive realm. So you do karma means a prescribed duties. And Krishna, there have 2 types of prescribed duties. One is normal prescribed duties for the material platform, that's for everybody. The Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and all. And then he gives a prescribed duty that is divine. That is common for everybody. Whether it's a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, it doesn't mean anything. Like chanting the name. It's common for everybody. That's prescribed for everybody. That is related to the soul activities, purification process. And the other one is slow purification. Do your duty, Somebody is born as a Brahmana. That is because of the guna karma vibhagashaya. Person with a mode of goodness, he is a Brahmana. With passion, he can be a Kshatriya, Vaishya. And then in the mode of ignorance, it's a Shudra. These are material things. But Prabhupada says, and Krishna also says, the person who transcends all these modes is the best one. And for that, these qualities are not required. For spiritual, his goodness, passion, or ignorance, it doesn't matter. A Shudra can become a greater devotee than a Brahmana. Follow, no? This Brahmana, Kshatriya, these are all the material differences. And for the higher definition of doing akarma, all these things are not considered at all. Even in Shudra, apparently of a lower class material platform, if he starts doing transcendental service, then this material qualification becomes irrelevant. That's what we study in Chaitanya Charitamrita and all. If you study that Haridas Thakur, they are apparently born in a Muslim family doing other things. But the qualification that they were having is they were chanting the holy name of Nama. So then whether they are born in this family or that family, it becomes irrelevant. So basically, yajna means you give something from what you have received as a gratitude. You must have gratitude, There is a main thing. So the whole Karma Yoga takes you through slow process of. And if you are a very fortunate person, if you get a good guru and you listen to him, then he gives you direct bhakti, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, he gives sows the seed of bhakti in your heart. And you have to just chant. And the seeds start growing into a big plant and a tree. So that's a very rare thing. For a normal person, for a normal growth, you have to follow prescribed duties. Initially prescribed duties in the form of Brahmana, Kshatriya and all. And then slowly or simultaneously, that is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasam, Navavidha Bhakti is there. Follow that particular. So both of them you could do simultaneously, then you do. So that's why Yajna, Dana, Tapa, Karma, all the things you should do. Yajna is a sacrifice for you. Dhan, that also, and Tap. Tap you do for mental listening, purification. So all these things you should do. Yajna, Dana, Tapa, Seva, Pavanani, Manishanam. Pavanani means it purifies your thing. Pavanani, Manishanam. And you should never stop all these things. You should keep doing the thing. And it has automatic effect. You don't have to work for any result for that. You know, to just do that particular thing and you get that. So all these things are gradual processes that are given. All these. And that's why when we read the whole Bhagavad Gita completely, slowly, we will understand more and more of the things that we have to do. And one can never complete Bhagavad Gita in one's lifetime. Prabhupada says, you know, you keep on reading, you get new and new this thing itself. Keep on getting things. So you read the 400 full chapter. Arjuna, it took 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. After hearing the 18th chapter completely, then only he feels satisfied. Yes, Nashto Mohasmritula. Now I'm clear. So we are learning, you know, that he was such a devotee, very close friend of Krishna. It took him so much time to understand this thing. So we have to slowly practice, you know, learn one sloka, practice, implement it in our life. Learn another sloka, implement in life. That is important, no? Not just reading the thing. What you read, start implementing. Start reading, implementing. Slow purification takes place. And then you get the desired result.
Okay. We're done.
Okay, so thank you very much for being part of this discussion. And I hope we continue to have these discussions and hope we have taken home, all of us, something from the discussion. Right? And so we'll end the broadcast here for now. Hare Krishna. We cannot kirtan? Okay, 5 minutes. So then let it be there. We'll have kirtan now. You can do it. Who wants to do kirtan?
Who?
He wants to come? Okay.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. It's disconnected anymore. Fine.
Okay. Please come in.
Okay. Okay, so they can read the next verse.
So, question I had.
Sure.
As devotees of Krishna, whatever they are doing as offering, for example, Mahan Shuddhi, they are doing offering Bhoga to Krishna and then partaking the prasad. These verses are also talking about offering to the demigods. So most of the time as Krishna devotees, we are not doing any specific sacrifice to the demigods, we are directly offering to Krishna. So how does, with the verses seem to say that you should do it as an offering to the many gods, keeping Krishna as the primary beneficiary. But they are only keeping primary beneficiary as Krishna.
Prabhudev can answer. He has a question.
Start the Kirtan. Since you are not here, I am asking one last question.
He has a question. He has a question. He asked already. He asked because you are the verses is talking about offering sacrifice to the devtas, but the recommendation is to do for Krishna. So how to resolve the contradiction? Apparent.
It is actually to sacrifice or yakya, the spirit of Sri Rama, to ensure everyone is satisfied. But the science is that the water is the root of the tree, all the branches can be, leaves can be, twigs can be nuts, all are no good. Okay, that's the ocean. So I do water a tree, you do water a tree, just because you want to water the root. That's not favoritism towards the root. But it's natural and scientific. Like if you water the roots, all the branches, all the roots will be nourished. So intent wise, in fact, it's like for a devotee, intent is to please everyone. Intent is that one becomes humble servant of everyone. Class was free. Identity itself is in service. But how do I realize it? I can't be serving every week, every leaf. Intent wise is inclusive. But execution wise it is exclusive. So when I have to execute what the root of the thing is like that, please so like Maharaj so intent is all your leaves get nourished. But रोज ये खा रहे ऐसा उनको तो नहीं बोलूँगा क्या रोज सिर्फ मुंह में डाल दो आपको थोड़ा ऐसा लेकिन ऐसे आपको भी नहीं ऐसा दो ना हाथ दो focus on your है ना वो अभी रोगी सब का रिलेशन करेंगे is everyone satisfied every day of their body is very muscle of course yes intent wise yes the while you are not feeling your left hand right hand I can't Prabhu Maharaj said that we are not take us a lot of stage. Like Akshara is pleased, everyone will be pleased. Intent is to please everyone, but execution is pleasing. So intent wise, the Shastras are so inclusive. There is absolutely no. Sometimes we also be so insecure, right? Is Krishna insecure? It's Krishna insecure. You start satisfying you are satisfied. Satisfying is only beautiful. Krishna is actually most of you. Because you bring on the responsibility of the side. वो कारण भी कि वो संसार लोग परेशान हैं सब लोग understand I am the argument when you say I am to enjoy so Krishna is speaking out of full sometimes we say no certainly right yeah sometimes dialogue with husband but it's also very natural you know you're supposed to serve me I know that statement is not also necessary. It's not the same thing. This is like all the so easy. So consciousness wise, weekend wise, totally easy. That is why the entire world can be a Muslim. It's the same thing. But yes, when we are practicing, there is a skill. It's like you water the juice exclusively, or you put food in your mouth. A single food will inspect it inside. Some duty master, please. You have the connection. Yes. You want to place any more? No, just the internet. Some devotees are things. Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radhe Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radhe Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radhe Jaya Gaurani Tai Jaya Gaurani Tai Jaya Gaurani Tai Jaya Gaurani Tai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Naam Sankirtan ki jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. One last point I wanted to make. Actually, very nice question you had asked, right? about the devatas. Even if you look at Ayurvedic text don't tell you just eat, right? Because you're supposed to eat through the mouth. You're told what to eat, when to eat, कौन से ऋतु के अनुसार क्या खाना चाहिए, क्यों? Because your senses need to be nourished. So there are details. Attention to details is also a sign of love. There is attention to details in Ayurveda. क्या खाना चाहिए so that your digestive system becomes strong, so that all the senses get nourished. Can you imagine, right? Not just that you eat. That is the difference between junk food and healthy food. You know? So the attention to details is there in Krishna's Bhagavad Gita. The fact that he's talking about, devatas being respected. Indra Puja, the residents of Vrindavan would do every year. हर वर्ष करते थे. तो ऐसा नहीं कि कृष्ण ने मना किया था. No, Indra Puja should never be done. But Krishna also wanted to establish that when you worship him, Krishna, then Indradev is also satisfied. So he did that. He orchestrated the Govardhan Puja once. But ऐसा नहीं है, तो अच्छा हो गया. Indra is not required only. Every year I'll do Govardhan Puja. No. That rasa is there to establish that principle. But the principle is with the intent. Sometimes we take the principle, right? And we forget the intent. Wife is supposed to be subordinate to husband. Arey Baba, what is the intent? The intent is that everyone is respected. As Lord Sita and Lord Ram respected Sita. So intent is actually everyone is respected. Everyone is satisfied. Nothing short of. Sometimes you think, Arey, what is this? Everyone, yes, intent is nothing short of that. Everyone being satisfied. Every sense being satisfied. But then there's a principle to facilitate that. I hope that helped. I was reflecting further on what you asked. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki jai.